Hello friends, welcome. Today we'll be talking about the improvement of eyewitness memory. Eyewitness memory, the most important component in the judicial system, has been a cause of concern not only for the legal system or jurisprudence, even for the psychologist. The reason for the greater concern for the eyewitness memory is the volatility and fallibility. That is why there is an inaccuracy when individual recalls the events which he himself has perceived, observed, and heard. There have been cases where the inaccuracy of the eyewitness memory has led the individual to be convicted and kept in the prison as long as for more than 20 years. And later, when the reliable and evidences were produced in the court, it was found individuals were innocent. When an individual is kept behind a bar for more than 20 years without office, no fault, such cases has put a greater question mark on the accuracy of eyewitness memory. This question mark led the researchers of the psychology as well as the jurisprudence to research, to collaborate and find out the actual causes and suggest the means and the techniques where accuracy of EM can be improved. So, we'll be discussing some methods, some tangible techniques that can improve the eyewitness memory's accuracy. The first one, the change in the questioning technique or questioning pattern. Those who are involved in the questioning of the eyewitness, such as investigating agencies, police, attorneys, judges, or the psychologist, they must adopt a technique that is relevant to the case, and the questioning must be neither suggestive nor manipulative. It has to be genuine one, and the intention of the individual who is asking questions also has significant effect on the accuracy of the recall. The intention has to be expressed in categorical terms that it is genuine one by the expression, by the physical actions, and by psychological gestures. The second important technique is by reducing the time gap between the originally occurrence of the event and the account taken from the witness. It has been found that the higher the time gap between the occurrence of the event and recall of the information by the eyewitness, the higher the inaccuracy. Provided eyewitness is psychophysiologically competent enough to detail the occurring of the event. Agencies must ensure that the eyewitness is examined as quickly as possible. The third technique is by offering crime scene or crime related context to the eyewitness. The context helps in recalling the exact information, such as if I ask a question, when the last time you had Amul ice cream? You may not remember that, but if I accompany you, the friend with whom you had your Amul ice cream in the Rajguru market in the Hisar, certainly you will remember that. The same is the case with the eyewitness. But there is a question here. The individual must be offered the genuine context that is directly related to the crime scene or criminal activity. Genuine context means the type of weapon that has been used in the criminal activity, the place where the crime has occurred, or the clothing that is worn by the criminal, or some tangible context that helps in recalling the exact information as far as the crime scene is concerned. The fourth technique is the memory testing after the occurrence of the crime. Memory testing of eyewitness. The research suggests that immediately after the observation or perception of the criminal activity by the eyewitness, if the memory test is carried out, certainly it will have a positive effect on the accuracy of the recall. And it acts as an inoculation, a type of safety feature, type of psychological vaccination against the forgetting of the events. Then comes the co-witness information. At several times, it's happened that the witnesses are more than one. So, one information that has been procured from one witness, if that is provided to the other witness, it also helps in recalling the exact information. And remember, that information which has been procured from the co-witness in some kind acts as context. The next technique is the free reporting by the eyewitness. Free reporting means freely expressing his ideas. Free reporting helps the witness in expressing himself freely, though it may contain some information which is entirely unrelated to the event. Then perceived support from the law enforcement agencies, administration and judicial system. If the witness has a kind of perception that the law enforcement agencies and the judicial system and the administration will provide adequate security and in maintaining the safety of his family members, certainly it will improve the confidence in the eyewitness. And the confidence in the law enforcement agencies and the judicial system helps in the eyewitness recalling the exact information. This is the point where we lack in India. It has been observed in the previous cases that eyewitnesses were shot down even outside the court by the accomplices of the criminal, because the law enforcement agencies fail to protect the confidentiality and the safety and security of the eyewitness. This is the major repulsion point where eyewitnesses fails to recall the exact information. The problems involved with the eyewitness memory is not India specific. It is across the globe. Taking this point into consideration, National Institute of Justice of United States published certain guidelines. The guidelines are primarily aimed at obtaining the most accurate information from the eyewitness. And these guidelines are really wonderful. That's why I am presenting here the summary of these guidelines. The first guideline suggests that establish a good rapport with the eyewitness. Who has to establish that? the questioning agency, the law enforcement agency, the police, or the individual who is involved in the questioning of the eyewitness. Remember the same thing. Report is being used in the counseling technique also. Individual when feels secure and feels that the individual who is sitting in front of me is of confidential nature and have a good rapport with him, then only he feels safe and secure to divulge the details related to the event. The second technique suggested by the guidelines is the ask the open-ended questions. But in reality, exactly opposite happens. They have a set of questions such as they will ask witness, have you seen the criminal running away? The individual is forced to answer yes or no. Generally, they ask the objective type of questions. But research suggested that the open-ended type of questions yield more accurate information. Because in this type of answering, the eyewitness feels secure, feels free to express himself, and during that expression, he divulges the details which he himself wants to hide. Sometimes this also happens. So this must be ensured that the questioning must be in a pattern recommended by these guidelines, that is open-ended one. And the third one is the fillers in the lineup should generally fit the witness description of the criminal. What is that? The fillers who are physically different from the description of the witness tend to increase the chance of identification irrespective of whether the identified individual has committed the crime or not. What are the fillers? Fillers means the individual who has not committed the crime, but those who are exactly doesn't match with the description of the eyewitness. When the potential criminals are lined up for the identification parade, along with the suspects, some other individuals who do not match the description of the eyewitness also being added in the identification parade, means in the lineup. So it has to be taken care of that the individuals who do not match the witness description should be added in the lineup so that it will not create a kind of confusion in the mind of the eyewitness while identifying the criminals from the lineup. Therefore, the fillers must be selected very, very carefully. And this responsibility lies with the investigating agencies. Then, these guidelines suggest that when the lineups are being organized for the identification, only one suspect must be included in one line. Generally, it happens that there are more than one criminals in a criminal act. What generally police do is, during the lineup, all the suspected criminals are placed in one line. This creates a kind of confusion in the eyewitness. He or she might find it difficult to identify who is the real one, or are they all one? So to avoid that confusion, what police and the law enforcement agencies must do is that in each lineup there should be only one suspect. All rest must be fillers. If there were 4 suspects in an act of crime, then there should be 4 lineups, where in each line only one suspect is placed. The instructions which are given to the eyewitness prior to the identification parade of the individuals or the photographs must be non-biased. Whereas the exactly opposite happens, that the investigating agencies, they pressurize and coerce the eyewitness to identify or not to identify a particular individual. And sometimes they are being threatened. So this kind of environment prevents the occurrence of the correct identification and distorts the eyewitness memory. Then there should not be any kind of feedback provided to the eyewitness as far as his or her decision is concerned, because the feedback tends to compromise the self-confidence of the eyewitness. After the eyewitness has identified the suspect, and when the same eyewitness present in the court, that time when judges ask how much confident you are about your decision, that time if feedback, rather negative feedback is given to the suspect, certainly eyewitness will have that feedback in his mind before responding to the judge's query. And self-confidence is one of the important components that plays significant role in accuracy of eyewitness memory. Now, Yulee and Kutschel in 1986 done a very interesting research. Rather, I say it was a landmark study. Their study established that eyewitness memory can be accurate when, if the event under study is real and the participants are sure that their account will have some value. That is, they are damn sure that whatever they will speak will have some weight in the court proceedings. So they suggested following two probable reasons for the high accuracy of eyewitness memory. The first one is the actual crime scene will have a high level of emotional effect on the eyewitness. This means these two researchers correlated the eyewitness accuracy with the emotional response. Whenever an individual witnesses a criminal activity, remember, genuine criminal activity, that will create a emotional reaction in the individual, and that emotional reaction leads to the formation of the memory and high level of impression in the brain, and that helps in recalling the information more accurately. And secondly, when the eyewitness is sure that his account related to the criminal event or the violence act will have some value, some force, or of some use during the court proceedings. This means their account carries some weight. So, dear friends, these are some methods and techniques which can help in improving the accuracy of eyewitness memory. These are my references. If you want to gain deeper insight into the eyewitness memory as a whole, you must refer them. And I have given some important telephone numbers in the just right bottom corner, just child helpline, women helpline, etc., etc. So whenever you feel yourself in distress, you can call them. And our next discussion will be statistics and introduction. My dear friends, if you like the content and the presentation style of mine, just tell to others. But if you have some problem, some critical comments to make, some issues, some questions, some queries, or some suggestions, just you could write in my comment box, or you can email me at wamasujit@yahoo.com. Thank you friends for watching.